we were talking about Palworld being sued by Nintendo, and then we took a look at the different Pokemons here compared to the Pals, and we can see that a lot of them are very similar, but that's not the reason why they're being sued. They are sued because of gameplay mechanics. You can actually go and patent certain gameplay mechanics, and it's even worse than we think. We thought it was just a Pokeball being thrown at a Pokemon. That's actually not really the reason why they're being sued, but let's hear. Okay,
this. Listen up, everyone.
I watched a little bit of this till here or something. I wanted to share this because it's very important. It is very important because if you're making a game in the future and you happen to make a mechanic in a particular way by accident, and you happen to infringe upon one of these copyrighted patents, you have issues just because you made a game too similar to something else. And it doesn't need to be on purpose. It can be on accident. That's the big problem. And in my opinion, this is disgusting, because ultimately, what do we want to do? We want to make games and play games. And someone telling me I can't program my game in a certain way because it's been done before by someone else is ridiculous. In my opinion, this halts progression. It's so bad. But here, let's see.
Are suing Palworld, but it's not for the reason that you think. It's not because designs are too similar. Yeah. It is cold-blooded business. And that is a quote. It's not just the opinion.
Yeah, see, that I hate that so much. It's just business for these guys, you know? So, oh, we did it first. We need to have a patent so no one else can do it. Only we can do it.
Some Westerner who doesn't understand Japanese law trying to pump up the story for you. It's what...
I hope this doesn't go through in the Western world at all, right? They're still trying to apply it, which is... They haven't been accepted yet. I hope it doesn't go through, and I hope they can't sue anyone in the Western world. And I hope that over time, hopefully in Japan, it changes too. Because ultimately it's dumb. Japan games industry analyst explains why Nintendo is going after Palworld and why it's probably going to win. Yeah. So the reason why this is annoying and important is because they are probably going to win.
Turkan Toto called it cold-blooded business. Now, he runs a game consultancy firm in Japan. He is absolutely seen as a regional expert. He knows what he's talking about, and worse, for Palworld developer Pocketpair, he thinks Nintendo will win. Now, I get it. You may think, I don't play creature collectors. This doesn't matter to me. Well, the bad news is it does. This is a direct threat to what we all enjoy. It is a threat against the entire industry. And if
yeah, it's a threat to indie gamers too. Indie game developers. You're an indie game developer, you make something that you love, you spend your years on it, and then you're getting sued. And all of the money that you earned is gone. That's so fucking stupid, man.
Predicts future Nintendo will almost certainly win because their domestic litigation track record is legendary. Now, I'm sure you know the phrase, if you come for the king, you better not miss. Well, 404 Media spoke to Dr. Toto, and it turns out, to his memory, Nintendo have never lost a litigation that they started. So yes, their lawyers are big brains with big wallets.
So Nintendo will win, most likely. That's what he's trying to say. So in Japan, where the lawsuit is happening, Nintendo will win. Which means, well, what does that mean? I think they have to pay them damages, but we'll have to see.
You can gear up to beat them with today's sponsor.
That's the first time for everything? Yeah, I mean, that's true, yeah.
We're going to help you transform doom scrolling into actual lasting satisfaction. They're brilliant.org/Bellular News, who actually helped me benefit from my tech rather than be hijacked by it. They make learning interactive and fun, where you basically learn by doing across thousands of interactive lessons in maths and data analysis, programming and AI. And it's all on their site and app that is gorgeously designed, where everything's interactive, which means you actually feel the concepts that you're learning. This method is proven to be 6 times more effective than lecture videos, which certainly does match my experience doing lectures where I don't really remember anything, but I do remember things that I've done. Now, I love Brilliant because understanding STEM topics is vocationally useful, but also life useful. Sharp problem solving and analytical skills are important in a world that is getting more full of data, more chaotic. As an example, take their data pathway. They just relaunched it. It's packed full of real world data from Airbnb, Spotify, Starbucks, and other big businesses, where you'll learn how to parse, visualize, and understand data. Of course, your professional life will thank you, and these skills, like say deeply understanding probability.
Oh, understanding data? Didn't we do that today? By creating this awesome list? Isn't that nice? And Bree Scusi, thank you very much for following. Welcome, sir.
can help you stay grounded in the world. So you can turn that doom scrolling into a daily learning habit at brilliant.org/bellyothernews. There, you will get a 30-day free trial and 20% off an annual plan. I highly recommend them. Seriously, it is so much better than just scrolling around your phone, achieving nothing. We first caught whiffs of this months back whenever the...
Has Nintendo attempted a game patent lawsuit before? I know they always win their trademark suits, but it's quite different in argument. I see what you mean there, I'm Raptor, but I would assume that they had a lot of practice with the other ones, and so it will probably have given them enough practice to win this one too. I would assume so. I can see them winning, unfortunately. I hope they lose, of course, but man...
Pokemon Company finally responded, and edited for brevity, this is what they said. We have received many inquiries regarding another company's game released in January 2024. We haven't granted permission to use our IP or assets and intend to investigate and take appropriate measures. So they said, we're looking into it, and certainly a little bit chilling. And reading that, we're all thinking the same thing. Did Pocketpair yoink something? Did they rip a model from Pokemon? Did they kitbash using models from
Pokemon? Everyone thought that in the beginning, and it makes sense, right? But then you take a look at this right here, where Dragon Quest is ultimately the one that came before Pokemon. And you can tell that almost every design, not every design, but a bunch of designs went into Pokemon that came from Dragon Quest. It seems to me that even almost exact copies don't really have issues. And so you could potentially just make your own Pokemon game. Potentially, right? Okay, you know, that looks kind of like Pokemon, but you know, you can't use any of the patents. You have to be careful about the patents, and this is where it gets crazy.
Pokemon. Allegations to that effect were all over the internet. VGC actually spoke to 2 AAA 3D modelers whenever the Pokemon Company released their statement, and they basically said, you cannot in any way, and this is a quote, accidentally get the same proportions on multiple models from another game without ripping the models, or at the very least, tracing them meticulously first.
Yeah, they did that. They did that. So many of the models have been traced at minimum. And a bunch of things have been stolen, like key features have been taken and then put on the parts, of course.
One of those people said they would stand behind their words as an expert witness in court, but more relevant too today, VGC also ran it by an IP lawyer. The IP lawyer said, if proven, that would be a smoking gun. Today's statement from Nintendo and the Pokemon Company is not what we expected because it doesn't talk...
Wait, so, okay, we're gonna watch this, but it looks like we have a comment from Shiffy. I wonder where you got that from. Can you link the resource from that? Because we were talking about this the other day, that it's about the Pokeball and how you capture the Pokemons.
About copyright infringement for protected designs. Rather, it's about patent infringement. And remember, this is cold. This is business. This is about defeating your foe. So if the spirit of your complaint, say designs being too similar, is a weaker legal argument, well, then your extremely expensive lawyers will not make that argument, but they will, of course, try to achieve your goals. Remember, Nintendo's lawyers are some of the best in the entire industry, and they've done easy things like knocking out these Pokemon clones from China, but more recently, we have
I mean, China just copies this also. That's typical, man. They don't care, bro. I just love to see it. I love to see that, bro.
They won $30 million suing Colopil over patent infringement. And that's exactly what we're dealing with here.
Yeah.
But what's spooky...
So they won $30 million from Colopil for patent infringement? Let's see.
...is the specific patents and how that litigation went down. And this is almost certainly, I believe, what they'll do to Pocketpair because it seems...
So right now there's another lawsuit going on for the patents? Like, it's crazy. I saw this yesterday and was like, no way.
They try to get them in patents. Here's a few of them. Quote, the special technology used to operate a joystick over a touch panel. Another one.
One of the patents was for a confirmation screen after sleep mode. You know, when the devices are sleeping, you want to resume, there's a confirmation screen in a lot of games. Are you sure you want to resume? And then you tap yes or no. Nintendo has a patent on that. I actually need to go to the bathroom right now. Like, this is ridiculous, by the way. Literal patent trolls. Yeah, it's insane, man. How does that even happen, bro? This is ridiculous. You know how it probably went down? You know, they were like, you know, we have this confirmation screen, you know, when, you know, the switch is in sleep mode, you know, and you tap the screen, you know, and then there's this OK button right here, you know. Can we get a patent on that, please? And then they must have been like, yeah. Like this is what must have happened, like 100%. I just like, it's a literal yes and no thing. Like you can't do it any other way, right? And so like think about it. Now you're making a game and you are by accident, you come across this crazy tech to ask the person whether they want to actually resume or not. You're like, damn, that would be cool if I asked the player. Crazy idea. And then Nintendo is like, we have a patent on that, bro. You can't use that, bro. Give me all your money now. Like that's because that's ultimately what's going to happen, right? By accident, you can come across these things. It's ridiculous. I'm gonna do facial recognition and ask Blink twice if you want to resume. Yeah, and then you get a patent on that because, you know, you want to make sure that no one else in the world can use that particular way of resuming the game. Of course. Cakez, did they make this mechanic or just flaming in hindsight? It's difficult to say. They tried to get a patent on capturing Pokemons in 2024. I think it was May. So they're trying to get a patent now so that they can hopefully sue Palworld later. You see? I know that the patent happened in Japan much earlier, but they're trying to get the same patent here much later, even after Palworld released. So yeah, I think they can do that. They're trying. They're actually trying it. So what's the issue? What the issue is that you can't make games anymore. At some point, there will be so many patents, you will most likely offend at minimum one. That's bad. And so it will ultimately lead to less games. Software patents are bullshit, Immo. Yeah, Travis Roman, I agree. I think it's dumb. Does Bloons CD hold any patents? I don't know why you would ask that, Mr. Arusius.
Is a confirmation screen appearing whenever you resume a game from sleep mode? Dr. Toto summed up the others. He said this, quote, and they have 5 other ones, including one for isometric.
They have 5 other ones, including one for isometric, pseudo 3D games. When the character is hidden behind the tree, the game forms a shadow, so you have a kind of sense for where the character is, even though you can't see the character clearly. Hey, that's the most basic game mechanic ever! Every game does that! Are they stupid? There's no way you can get a patent on that. That's normal. That's the first thing you do. Bro, you have a character behind the fucking tree? Huh? And you build like kind of an outline? Bro. What? They aren't stupid, they are evil and corrupt. Yeah, so so like, here's what I think needs to happen, right? Because this is actually dumb, of course. This is dumb, right? The government needs to do something. The guys that accept the patents, they need to go and say, you're stupid, we don't do that. And since it's software, it's not something that had a lot of time to evolve, like, you know, let's say building a machine that's been around for longer. This needs to be reviewed 100%. And so I hope that this will not get accepted in the US and whatever EU, wherever they try to, you know, get the patent as well. I hope that's not in, I hope that's just in Japan for now. I hope, man. This is ridiculous.
Pseudo 3D games, when the character is hidden behind a tree, the game forms a shadow so you have a sense for where your character is, even though you don't see your character clearly. You know what's really funny? World of Warcraft just added that. So many games have that. You're playing an isometric game, you walk behind.
World of Warcraft didn't have that for like multiple years? Like, I'm not a big World of Warcraft guy, but what have they been doing? Let's not get into this. It's fine.
Behind a tall building, you still see where your character is. Yet, that is something Nintendo actually used. They do hold those patents, but many would say those patents are so broad and industry standard that they're invalid.
Yeah.
And that actually is a defense in Japan. It's one that, in this case, the defendant made. They said that Nintendo's patents lacked novelty and inventiveness. And
of course they do. They're fucking stupid. It's a fucking, oh my god.
Are invalid, so broad that they're essentially meaningless.
And
this is where the story gets chilling.
No way.
Nintendo didn't have to win. Kolopil ended up having to settle. The settlement is, of course...
That's ridiculous. It took them a long time to build a case, and it might have taken years for this lawsuit to end. The last similar legal action was initiated by Nintendo in 2017 and settled in 2021. Nintendo essentially won because of time. So, like, the longer a lawsuit goes, the more money it eats up from you, of course. Oh, that's so fucking dumb. Oh, that's dumb.
It's a mutual agreement between both companies to come to terms and stop the legal fight, but make no mistake, Nintendo...
Maybe Japan is just dumb. I don't want to say it like that, or maybe just Japan, when it comes to these types of patents, they need to fix that, okay?
Nintendo were not the losers here, and it's worse than that. The settlement involves Kolopil having to pay Nintendo a licensing fee for those patents. Now, by the law of the land, Nintendo...
This is ridiculous. So I'm telling you, like, this cannot go through, hopefully. Like, this is so dumb. This is so stupid. Like, do I have to, like, it's not a 3D game, but a 2D game. Do I have to do that now too? Like, do I have to pay someone because I have this? How so many games have this? Stupid.
Nintendo did not prove their patent claim, as far as my understanding goes. Yet, even though they didn't prove that legally, they successfully strong-armed their target into number one, giving up a lot of money, and number two, into a licensing deal for those patents that many would argue are invalid by the law of Japan.
Yeah.
Again, that argument did not...
So I think, like, to phrase it better, Japan needs to change those laws. Even though Nintendo is evil, it's not Nintendo's fault. It's the government's fault of Japan because they're not fixing it. Because they have the power to fix it or to change it, but they're not doing it. And so Nintendo can abuse it. And they're trying to inch their way forward into the Western market. Large companies can crush a small developer with lawsuits. It doesn't matter if the lawsuit is valid. It can happen anyway. Yeah, that's the unfortunate truth, yeah.
Get fully borne out in the court. We don't have a legal decision. And that's the thing. The legal system is supposed to uphold the law.
Yeah.
But here, the system was the weapon, and the law didn't exactly matter. Palworld then. Nintendo's filings are not public. That means we do not know what patents they're using. The people over at Pocketpair also don't know. But here's a Nintendo example that Stephen Totillo found in the US.
We saw this the other day, right? So this is them trying to patent capturing Pokemons, and they describe it in much detail, but they leave out the wobble. For some reason, they left out the wobble. So maybe Pocketpair is lucky, and because of the wobble, it could be an endless dispute, like always, right? They dispute. But because of the wobble, it could be something else, considered to be something else. Because in my opinion, I don't know about you guys, but for me, the wobble is part of the capturing part of Pokemon. It's literally the most interesting
and there's crossover between the US and Japanese patent offices. You can see this amazing art. Throwing an item to catch a monster. We see some WikiHow tier art of it. We see a flowchart. And look, if it was Palworld, the Pterosaur would absolutely be holding an AK, but I don't think that detail is going to help Pocket Pal. So, let's talk about their response. Big Winston once said, never let a good crisis go to waste. And, well, Pocketpair are leveraging their biggest asset here, their community. And look, like it or not, whether you think a big rat creature with an AK is an artistically cohesive thing or not, the truth is that Palworld happened in a world where most of my generation loved Pokemon as kids and then drifted away from the franchise over a continued lack of innovation.
Yeah, lack of innovation and laziness, essentially, building terrible looking games, bug games,
and pretty damn scummy business practices that just about nobody else is able to get away with. In that context, Palworld captured attention, and it used extremely sticky and battle-tested game mechanics, base building, collecting, automation to hold on to people. That does mean the community actually likes them by and large. And so in this situation, they absolutely are David, and the rocks in their sling are the community. Let's talk about their statement. They start by reinforcing that they're small, how Palworld succeeded with the community, and they end with the real message. Quote, "It is truly unfortunate that we will be forced to allocate significant time to matters unrelated to..."
This is the big problem here. And so even if they probably can win, they might lose because of time and money. They lose the resources, and it would be much more efficient to forgo this and pay Nintendo a fee, because they have the same functionality in capturing pals that is similar to Pokemon. So to develop a game, you have to spend hours and hours looking at Nintendo's patents so they don't sue you. No, you don't, because you don't live in Japan. Never look at the patent. That's a big no-no. Yeah, you don't look at the patents. You just make a game that you would like to make. That's how it should be. But they actually got it coming. The game is so similar to Pokemon. They had it coming. I know what you mean. Capturing a pal is exactly the same way you capture a Pokemon. I know what you mean. It's difficult to say, right? It is difficult to say whether that is deserved or not. I don't know, guys. Do you think it's deserved? Because capturing a pal, for those of you who played Palworld, is just so similar to capturing a Pokemon. I don't think people would be all that angry if the lawsuit was based off of character design. All Battleground games have the same mechanics, same thing. Yeah, but we're capturing like a creature here in a very specific way. And it's literally stolen to a T. It's exactly how you capture a Pokemon. I think it's deserved. They just flew too close to the sun. The game is very, very similar. Everyone called it Pokemon and called the balls Pokeballs, and even made mods for the game that added Pokemon. I see what you mean. I wonder how Nintendo fanboys feel about this. I don't care about the Nintendo fanboys. I'm trying to make an objective decision based on the information that I have. So I try not to have a bias in any direction. I don't like Nintendo for what they're doing, but I can see that capturing a pal is exactly the same way you capture a Pokemon. So is that enough grounds to sue someone over? Yeah, just can't use balls, I guess. Temtem uses cards, I think. Sorry guys, there's no way Nintendo loses it. For how close they were to Pokemon, I think they deserve it, absolutely. Especially since there is a patent on it. However, the fact that there's a patent is just absolutely insane to me. That's what I think so too. So for me, I can understand it being too similar to Pokemon, and therefore that shouldn't be allowed. There should be some differences that set it apart or extend a certain functionality. You can say it's inspired, but I'm doing this differently. However, a patent and the patents that we saw right now as examples, these were ridiculous. And I think these are very dangerous to have at all in any country. These should not exist. You should not have a patent on going from sleeping mode to resuming your game, and you have an OK button, and now that is patented by Nintendo, and you have to pay Nintendo fees because you have a resume button in your game. That's so dumb. And so, like, patents are bad. To be honest, I probably wouldn't mind if capturing pals was done differently. I don't want Palworld to have to pay Nintendo fees, but I wouldn't mind if Palworld would have to change the way you capture pals because it's too similar to Pokemon. I wouldn't mind that if they had something else that allowed you to capture pals. It fundamentally doesn't change the game anymore.
Game development due to this lawsuit. However, we will do our utmost for our fans and to ensure that indie developers are not hindered or discouraged from pursuing their creative ideas. And that's really the thing. This is just the beginning. This is a battle that will take years because it's legal and that's how it goes. Palworld is not just a small indie company. That's where Sony actually entered the picture. So a few months back, Pocketpair announced a joint venture with Sony Music Entertainment and an anime company called Aniplex. Basically, right, they want to do what rocketed Pokemon and got, you know, the Chin Pokemon episode of South Park. They want to exploit the Palworld IP outside of video games through anime, through music, probably a card game, and everything you could imagine.
They should do that.
And that's what...
Because that's where you earn the most of your money. It's not through the video game, but it's through merchandise and stuff like that. That's why George Lucas, the guy that made Star Wars, that's why he's so big. Because he gets like a percentage share of every sold figurine for Star Wars, every sold merchandise. It's crazy.
What makes me wonder here, do Nintendo see this as a threat? It may not be a threat now because I think Palworld is appealing to different people than just the core Pokemon experience as it is currently. But if you look at the likes of Arceus, you do actually see that, while Arceus was rightly laughed at for its visual presentation, it actually did innovate the gameplay.
Is this Pokemon or is this something else? It looks exactly like Pokemon as well. What's wrong with these Pokemon clones everywhere, man?
It's way better than any of the other modern Pokemon games for sure. So they may be thinking, well, we want to innovate and push Pokemon forward. Maybe Palworld is going to muscle in that turf. And they've also realized something. Palworld...
Look how shitty this looks, man. Just look how terrible this is. God, that's so ugly. Compare this. Like, I just don't understand how they managed to make this so ugly. What are they doing? It's not PC though, right? And it has to be ugly? I just don't agree.
And they've also realized something.
Sorry, the colors. Okay, let's say they don't have enough texture size. And they don't have enough model size. They don't have enough vertices available to them. You could still choose better colors, man.
World was...
Look at the ground, man. That's so ugly.
Scrappy. It was an indie. When you hear about the development, it does seem like a little bit of a technical shit show. But that's the thing.
Smart,
it will only get better and stronger from here. And now it has got proper corporate backing with those joint venture agreements. So for Nintendo, if they see a rival brand to Pokemon, would they not rather kill it where it is now?
Yeah, they would, of course.
And here's where I want to be clear. Every game developer should be against this. And I know that within the industry, many think that...
I think all game developers should be against this because it's stupid. Because we will get into trouble too if this keeps going. If this extends.
Pocketpair are, in a way, creative hacks who couldn't even bother making their own in-universe version of a gun. They just grabbed an AK or an AR from an asset store and slapped it onto a pocket monster. But that doesn't actually matter now. That doesn't matter. What matters is this dangers us all, and it's something that's happened before. It is common understanding the game mechanics cannot be copyrighted. Exact implementation can be, but not in broad strokes. You can't go...
So, like, you can't actually copyright stuff, so then why can you copyright the freaking resume screen? It doesn't make sense to me.
Patent the Metroidvania format. I mean, we used to call what's now the FPS a Doom clone. And yeah, if you're newer, you may not know that, but in the...
See you guys, in the future it will be... How do you call that? RPG tower defense, you know, will be the Bloons clone that it was before. Right now you call it a Bloons clone, just wait. It won't be for long. Yes, yes.
90s,
we are on it.
It wasn't necessarily FPS, it was Doom clones, but the idea of a first-person shooter is not something that id could go and copyright. But specific mechanics, well, those can be patented. And that's because copyright protects the usage of the things that you've designed or wrote, and patents are designed to protect mechanical inventions or processes. The whole point...
It needs to be an invention, though. A resume screen where you ask the player if they want to resume, in my opinion, is not an invention. It doesn't require more than 2 brain cells to do it, and therefore it shouldn't be a patent. No way. It's dumb.
There being that if you actually make
I call that common sense.
an innovation, the patent system protects your ability to exploit that, and in doing so, it creates a financial incentive for people to innovate. The thing is, though, if a patent is too broad, it can become impossible to reproduce without infringement. And that's where broad patents are a problem. And this hurts you. I would actually say it has hurt you, you just don't know it because we cannot see the road not taken. The Lord of the Rings, Shadow of Mordor's Nemesis system was a true innovation, honestly. It led to emergent gameplay within that game that actually saw people forgetting about the core progression and just having fun in the sandbox settling scores with orcs. It was fun, it was dynamic, and it was a relationship with our enemies in the game that was actually player-driven. But Warner Bros. Patented it. And thus far, nobody has got past that patent. And that means that one of the 2010's greatest innovations in gaming is locked. Locked within one of the worst
So what did they lock? So what did they patent?
But Warner Bros. Patented it. Dynamic, and it was a relationship with our enemies in the game that was in the sandbox settling scores with orcs.
A sandbox settling score with orcs. Essentially. That's what they tried to patent, that system. The Nemesis system.
It was fun, it was dynamic, and it was a relationship with our enemies in the game that was actually player-driven. But Warner Bros. Patented it. And thus far, nobody...
Fucking morons, man. Like, why? So if I make... Wait. If I make this system, I get sued? If I make a game right now, in C++, I make my own engine, and I make that system. Let's say I'm not small. Let's say the game blows up because the system is so good. No one knows you. Guys, we are assuming that it blows up because it's a good system. If big enough. So if the game gets big enough so that they know about it, then I would get sued. Because ultimately, you guys have to realize that if there's a chance that you get sued, you don't know the game is going to be successful or not. If there's a chance that you get sued, you won't make that game. Absolutely not. It's too much of a risk. This is the only example of game mechanic patterns people have, because it's the only example people ever cite on YouTube and on Reddit. This is dumb. Move to Russia, they don't give a fuck. I guess I do, yeah.
He has got past that patent, and that means that one of the 2010's greatest innovations in gaming is locked within one of the worst publishers. So if you're a AAA game or a AA, you probably don't want the risk. What if you're an indie, though? Well, will a publisher pick you up and fund you,
of course,
knowing that an American megacorp could just attack you?
No,
and even if you're a self-funded indie, well, what are the chances that you drop your trailer after working in secret for 2 years?
For 2 years? Try 4 years. Try 7 years. There have been people that have worked on their games for 8 years. They put all of their heart and soul into their games, man. Animal Well, 7 years. Kenshi, 8 years. They would just lose all of their money, all of their time, all gone. So
trailer
dumb.
Catches on, and just before release, you get served with something by Warner Bros. And even worse,
man, like, so I hate this so much. So like the reason why I got into game development, by the way, guys, is because corporate greed started sipping into my lovely games, okay? When Gothic 3 happened, the reason why it was buggy was because the publisher was like, I want money now. The game's not ready, but I want money now. You won't get to finish the game. And then we got a shit fucking buggy mess of a game. And then Rift. I played Rift, which was an MMORPG. And they tried to advertise it as a classic mode, like World of Warcraft Classic. You know what they did? They took the latest patch of the game that was, I think, till 70, and they just did an if check. The level is greater than 50. You can't earn experience anymore. Greater or equal to 50. That's all they did. And then they disabled 2 or 3 zones that you couldn't go to anymore. So dumb. And I got so pissed at that. Like, it kept happening. And then there were AAA games, and all you would see is a CGI trailer. And people would get hyped like monkeys, you know, getting a new banana. It's like, it's a new game. Look how so beautiful. Oh, man, cool. But you don't see any gameplay, right? And then the game comes out the day before, and it's absolutely dog shit. It's dumb. People don't like to play the game, and they spent like $100 on it. It never went into my brain, and so that's why I started making games, because I saw that nothing's gonna change. It would get worse. That's how I saw it. And, you know, if I make games, at least I can make the games that I want to, you know, and play them myself, and then maybe get big enough so that we can, you know, make multiple games in the future. Something like that, you know, like build like a huge corporation, but that's not shit, but good, right? And now I see this, right? Oh, you can't do this because we did it first, and no one else is gonna do it. Oh my god, this is so fucking stupid, man. Maybe we have to go to Russia. Yeah, it's so dumb. Bro, I'm really rich coming from you. You said you were gonna get my game taken offline if I use Tangy's. I never said that. I'm gonna ban you. Let's go. Continue here. Do not go to Russia.
Means that we're not seeing the next version of the Nemesis system, the next iteration or innovation along those lines. That's the thing. Nintendo is a bad actor here. They are, in my opinion anyway, using overly generic patents, not as a true attack vector, but rather as a mind.
However, Nintendo is not at fault, man. It's the fault from the government that this is even allowed. Sorry, but like, the government needs to fix this. Like, Nintendo is just following rules. They just try it. It works. Okay, cool. because I'm doing it. Like, look, guys, if there was a money printing machine outside of your house, okay, and it had a sign on it, you shouldn't use that. But you use the money printing machine and you get yourself $1,000 and you can click the button anytime you want to. Even though the thing said, oh, you shouldn't do it, you would still do it if you didn't face any repercussions. If you could still do it, if it lets you do it. There's a thing called ethics, bro. You think that a company will follow ethics? A company wants to maximize their gains, bro. I know that there's ethics. We have ethics, but you're not thinking through the eyes of someone that owns a company with shareholders, to please. You're not thinking the corporate thinking. You're not thinking in terms of a company. You need to stop thinking about yourself and take a look at how others might think and why that happens. So obviously the company is shitty for doing this, but they can do it. That's the problem. Doesn't matter you're special pledging. No. Cakez TD Corp, maximize gains. Yeah, exactly.
Controlling parasite. Because this doesn't seem to be about winning the legal case. It seems more an excuse to pick up the legal system and to harness it to maul your opponent to death, regardless of what a trial verdict may be, because as we just saw, well, they can pull you into a settlement that is amazingly favorable to them. Now, there is a story this week about development, about who I think you could call villains in the industry. It's about Unity. The whole Unity drama finally came to a close, and if you want to learn more,
Yeah, we saw that. I think that's a W change by Unity. Really cool. And the new CEO seems to do some really good stuff. Just like with Twitch, you know. Dan Clancy has been doing a lot of cool stuff for Twitch. And ever since he started picking up, while Ultimate, in the beginning, there was a lot of fear that he might be out of touch with the viewers and the streamers, he actually started streaming himself and made a lot of really good changes. I'm pretty sure the reason why we have the nice clip system now, where I can basically take clips from my stream and upload them directly to YouTube in short format, I think that's his doing. There's many other things too, you know, many other things. But yeah, ultimately, the change in Unity's CEO is probably the reason why they are doing good now. However, that doesn't mean that it will stay that way, right? We have to observe. What if Palworld modifies the game so the specific patterns don't apply anymore though? Yeah, so that's a question. That's what I would say, right? Just modify it. Just throw a cube. Homer Funner would capture parts with handcuffs. That would actually be funny. That would be so funny if you could, bro.